Hi, welcome. My name is Christy and I'm with Intuitive Parent Evolution. And you just found a series of videos that I'm going to take you through a little bit about my journey that I've been on with my two beautifully unique and different children. Kate and Eric, they didn't talk until they were 4 years old and 5 years old, respectively. And they are incredibly sensitive beings. They are very sensitive to this world, the energies around them, the emotions, and I kind of had to find my way forward. That was not in any of the baby books, by the way. So I was really on my own as I was stepping off all the conventional paths of parenting, of schooling, pretty much you name it, therapy, and instead finding what worked for these two kids, finding our path, and no one else's but ours. My name is Christy, and as I said, I'm an intuitive, I'm a channel, and I'm a bridge. I help parents understand who their kids are. You know, these kids that are just amazing and they're having these experiences all over here and we're like down here on the earth 3D plane and trying to bridge that gap. Like, who are these kids? How can I help them? How can I support them? Like, we're still here on this physical plane. Like, how can we meet each other? And that's what I do. That's my calling. And that's what led me to you. And, you know, this series of videos where I'm going to share about my journey and sharing those times where I was very alone. All those times that I fell down and I was surrounded by fear. Fear for my children. Of everything the world around me was saying about them, and yet what I knew in my gut, my parent gut, was not right. It was like, no, you are wrong about this child. What you're saying is wrong, and I could feel that deep inside me. So I had to find my way to trusting that voice, to trusting myself. And so I'm going to share some of that with you today. I'm going to share about Kate. Kate opened the way for me to be who I am as a parent. Frankly, she opened the way so I could fully show up to be myself. She's my mirror. She's always holding up this mirror, metaphorical mirror, to me and sharing my reflection. And then it's my choice, my decision to look in that mirror or not. And it's not an easy thing to see what's reflected back to us. It's not, but it's worth it. Oh, so as you can probably feel, this video and the next one aren't going to be easy for me because I'm on YouTube. Hello world, right? And I'm going to share with you my story and my experiences, my children's experiences with this world and the professionals that we've had in our lives. And it wasn't easy. It was, in fact, quite painful, hurtful. And you'll also be seeing more forthcoming videos where I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about trauma that can so often be done to us as parents by people that we trust. These professionals in their lab coats with their degrees and their expertise, and how misplaced words, misplaced beliefs can just devastate us. And our kids need us as parents to not be devastated, right? I mean, all kids, but then you have someone who is unique and different, and right? This can mean in a lot of different things, which is why I'm not going into specifics about that. But they really need their parents to love them, to not look at them and just want to cry. Because the fear of society and the professionals is so great that you wake up in the morning and you're already crying. And you went to bed that night and you were crying because you were so scared. Because this is your child that you love unconditionally, and who a professional that you trusted could be so insensitive to what their words, their manners, their emotional resonance could do to you. And I don't think I've ever once had them say, "I'm sorry for that." Then again, I have yet to really stand in my power because I'm still on this journey, like all of you. I don't think I've really stood in my power yet to say, that's not okay. What you just said is not okay. But I'll bet you next time I will have that power. Oh, so yes, this is emotional for me. This is heavy for me. I did go through trauma, and you're going to hear that. And I am healing this trauma of my experiences. So nothing I say is a medical recommendation. Find someone that you trust, and that you feel good with inside to get your medical professional opinions from. But nothing I'm saying is advice. This is just my experience, the experience that I've had. In this particular video, I'm going to share with you about Kate. Kate, as I explained in the last video, she has language challenges, the speaking of language and the understanding of it. She didn't start talking until she was 4 years old. Now, with Kate, I was never worried about her quiet disposition. I wasn't. It felt right for who she was. She wasn't someone who was very interested on turning her voice on. You know, she would babble and make baby sounds and all that, but it wasn't like, you know, when you have some kids that are just like, blah, 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 right, like little chatterboxes. That was not Kate. It just wasn't her as a baby, and it felt right. And if you knew Sean and me, obviously not on a YouTube video where I'm talking, but we're quiet people. We're introverts. We don't talk a lot. Or when we do talk, it's because we have something to say. So it's like, of course, this is who our daughter would be. And Kate was always very good at communicating what she needed without words. Let me give you a beautiful explanation of that. She wanted to watch one of the Tinkerbell movies on Netflix. This was back before, Disney Plus was a thing. So she was maybe 2.5, and she went to the remote control. She picked it up and she pointed at the red button that said Netflix. She showed it to me. Then she went to our video closet and pulled out the Peter Pan movie and brought that down, turned it over, and pointed at the picture of Tinkerbell in the back of Peter Pan. And me, as this, didn't know I was intuitive at the time, but as an intuitive parent, I'm like, oh, you want to watch the Tinkerbell movie on Netflix? Okay, let's go find out which one that is for you. And then from there, she was able to communicate with me. But she didn't need words. She was able to do just fine and seemed perfectly happy with that. And we were able to meet her needs. We just seemed to know what she wanted because we were communicating in 1,000 different ways, but just not with language. And it also wasn't that Kate didn't have language. She did. Our first pediatrician was, actually, she was incredibly distracted. She was always kind of late, and she'd be in there for 5 minutes, and then she'd be gone again, right? And then she'd be like going down her checklist. I have a thing about checklists. You're going to notice this. Oh, yeah, did she do this? Does she do this? And she'd be like, oh, does Kate have 3 words? And I'd be like, yes, because she did. She'd have like dada, and I think one time she said kitty. I have it all written down. I don't remember what it is offhand. But what she would do is she would say a word. And like we'd be like, oh yeah, that's a word. But then she would tuck it away and not use it again. So, this is my first kid. So I'm just like, well, yeah, she's got those words. I heard her count 5 of them. Like, yep, she's got 5 words. But our pediatrician wasn't sitting down and asking us like, oh, does she use these words all the time? And she wasn't interested in any, like, that kind of being a good doctor kind of thing. My opinion, of course. So when we went in for Kate's 2-year, 6-month checkup, we were really kind of blindsided when all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, she's not talking as much as other kids. And our pediatrician kind of like, I'd say that she threw the book at us. Suddenly, it became a big, big thing. Suddenly, it was okay, I'm going to, our insurance at the time, I'm going to like put a request in for speech therapy. I'm going to put in a request for getting her to an audiologist to have her hearing checked, and neurologist as well. And you should go to early intervention. They're just down the road and it's free. And I'm like, deer in headlights. Wait, what's going on? Like, because Kate was still fine to me, right? She's just Kate. And it didn't feel like there was something wrong with her. It was just, hey, she's just talking differently, like talking in a different way and level than most kids. And how can I support her with this was really what I was going in for. How can I support my kid with what she needs? So we went to early intervention first. You might have had an amazing experience, and you might have gotten the exact kind of support that your child needed through your whatever early intervention Head Start program that you have in your state, if you're in the United States or other countries. This is just me. This is my experience with my daughter. As I said, trauma. I have a lot of trauma of what happened there. my child wasn't seen for who she was. And then I wasn't listened to as her parent. I ended up leaving early intervention in tears. I was sobbing, and Sean was furious when they gave us the report of their evaluation of Kate. I can't begin to describe to you how inaccurate it was. And I didn't know this at the time, but this evaluation could never have been accurate for her because of her receptive language delay. So they gave Kate, it's called the Bayley's Scales of Infant and Toddler Development Test, or deviation test. I actually didn't write the whole thing down. But it's a test that relies on understanding language. If you have a child who doesn't understand language, they're not going to score well. And this system in place that's used to give comparisons for parents to understand where their child is at is very hurtful. At least, again, my experience. In one of the previous videos I've done, I actually pull out that report and share with you some of what was said. But to tell me that my 2.5-year-old daughter has this cognitive equivalent of like a 6-month-old child is fucking bullshit. Especially when you have two parents who are explaining these experiences of her like working out the puzzle of communication of Tinkerbell on Netflix, please. Like, this is a child who knows the directions to get to C's candy. Right? Like, telling me, go, like, left and right with her hands and where she wants me to go. Like, spatially aware child. And the things that she's amazing at, there's no space for, like, the Bayley's test. There's no space to say, like, wow, that's pretty amazing that a 2-year-old knows how to get to C's candy, like, 15 minutes away. There's just not. Instead, it's all the things that is wrong and all the ways that they are not normal and they're not measuring up to what's normal. At one point, so I'll back up for a moment. The person who is doing this early intervention was not a friendly person. She's not the kind of person where kids are just like, wow, I want to play with you, right? You know how there's people in your life that are just like these kid magnets? Like there's this energy about them where kids are like, yes, I'm going to trust you and open up to you and play with you. That was not this woman. And in fact, this woman didn't really try to build any kind of rapport with Kate, who, what I knew of her at the time was that she was very introverted and not trustful of strangers unless like you gave her a reason, right? Like if you started playing with her, she'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I can trust you. I can like open up to you. I can do things for you that that even though they trigger her anxiety, which I didn't know at the time, but that need for perfection and getting things right and accurate, like if you don't have that kind of rapport with Kate, she's not gonna go to this place inside her that's really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. Like, she's not gonna do it. And yet there was that expectation of, you just need to do exactly what I say. And if you don't do exactly what I say, it's because you can't. And you're going to get marked down on this test for that. So Kate didn't do a lot. She was just like, nope, I don't want anything to do with this woman. And in fact, at one point, she went to the door and tried to leave. She was being that clear in how uncomfortable she was. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was feeling the same energy from this woman. I didn't realize that I was an empath as well, that I could sense the emotions of others. Like, she didn't need to say what she thought about Kate, because I could feel it in my body. And so could Kate. I wasn't in my power at the time. I hadn't stepped into my voice and my truth. And I had the power to say, you know what, we're done. I'm not doing this. We're leaving. But I didn't, because I had been conditioned to trust in these kind of professionals, that they knew more than me, the parent. They had gone to college, they got their certifications and their masters and PhDs and so forth. Like, they're the experts. I need to trust them. I need to trust them over myself and what I feel and what I know. So we stayed. Kate was so uninterested. At one point, the evaluator said, you know what, let's try to strap her down into this chair and make her sit, right? To force her to attend. That lasted about 5 seconds. I'm really not happy to say that I agreed to it. And Kate got so upset and so agitated and freaking out that immediately she and I were like, nope, she's out of this. Like, so, but that's the level of this experience that we were having, of this not really caring about the child and their experiences, and just only caring about the test and the checklist and the scores. Sean and I didn't realize until the end what the goal of this early intervention program, that, again, our experience, right? Yours can be totally different. We didn't know what their goal was. I mean, I thought I was going there and they were going to help me to support Kate, right? She wasn't talking. Okay, so maybe she needed speech therapy, right? Like, we're both like, the only issue is she's not talking. There's no other issue. They only cared about getting her to sit and attend to get her school ready. In fact, those are words that they used to us. And they actually never asked Sean and I what we wanted. And we're like, that's not our goal at all, because we had decided at that point that we were going to homeschool her. So getting her to sit and attend just wasn't what we cared about. And the moment I had mentioned, like, oh yeah, you know, our pediatrician, she wants us to get her hearing checked, and then we're going to see a neurologist, it was like, what? Neurologist? Oh, is there a reason why they think she should see a neurologist? Do they think that she has autism? I'm not kidding. That was what was said to me. That was the reaction that I had as a parent. And again, there's words that are being spoken, and then there's the underlying emotions that I was feeling. And I could almost feel this need for, oh, services. We get more money. That kind of vibe. So we left, and I was never going to go back there again. I was going to decline everything that was being offered, and Sean completely agreed. It was, that was the moment where it was the first time I really fell hard. And suddenly I was terrified for my child in a way I hadn't been before. Not because of who she was, but because of this world that I was now suddenly in that I hadn't experienced before, right? And that was like my whole reality changed. And I was experiencing this, it was like a cognitive dissonance. It was the words the different professionals around me were saying about Kate. And then there was what I felt inside me about her. It was what she showed me every time we were together. And I had to find my way through that and what that meant. And I didn't have anyone in my life that I could turn to and say, I need help. These people that I'm supposed to trust are saying these things, and everything inside me as a parent is screaming, no, that they're wrong. I mean, to be fair, if Kate had actually been seen for who she was, then this would be a very different conversation. I would have had a completely different experience in those early days. But that wasn't what happened. What happened is I suddenly found myself fighting against something that was being pushed onto me, a diagnosis that I was like, this is not, I can feel it in my body. I feel it in my parents' intuition that it's wrong. It doesn't fit right inside me and what I know. And that led into the 4 darkest months of my whole life. I was that mom who would go to sleep crying and who would wake up crying. And I look at my daughter, so full of joy. Oh my gosh, the way she moves through this world, she's like a little fairy. And her interactions with other children, she's so social. This constant eye contact, bidding for attention. The only thing that wasn't there was the speaking. And yet, everyone was around me was just pushing this idea that there was something wrong. Those 4 months, I don't have that I don't have memory. Like, it's like 4 months of my life are missing. Because I was in so much fear, I lost those months. Those are 4 months of Eric's babyhood that I do not remember. Because I was living and breathing fear. Trauma. I was in trauma. I had no idea. I came out of it through my fiction writing, actually. and by writing out my feelings and sharing my story in a fictional world. And that's how I started to like find my voice again, to find myself. And then I started finding professionals that felt right to me. I really started kind of taking back my power. And I really started to question the conditioning that I was given, that I was raised in. And it was a slow journey of taking myself off this traditional path to walk the one that I'm on right now. I mean, it took a bit. It took a lot. But it opened the door as I started doing my own research and these beautiful books that came across my path. And I was like, oh, there's something more than just autism as a reason for my daughter not talking. And oh, there's this. Oh, there could be this. And it was this slow, like, okay, no, this pediatrician, I don't like how she's treating me. I'm going to go find a new one. Okay, I'm really anxious about this guy. You know, I basically pulled his name out of a hat kind of thing with the insurance that we had. I'm going to write him a letter and explain our experiences and explain what I've done. I found my speech professional who I work with and who is just an absolute dream for these children who don't fit the usual molds. Like, they're not broken, but she has a way of understanding them. And in fact, so does her husband. They even had a late talking child of their own. So she really gets them. And it was like having someone like her in my corner really kind of gave me that strength to walk my path, to start taking those first steps and breaking away from everything I thought that I should be doing. And to be honest with you, it was Kate who showed me the way. Every time. It became a journey not just about language, but about who she was. And I had to shift and to learn this new path as I was doing all the shifting and unlearning within me. Like it was, it very much felt like one step forward, 10 steps back. And yet that's what needed to happen. I found myself not focusing on her, but on myself. Like, what in me was causing this reaction? What in me was making myself say, this is that hard line in the sand? Like, I had to do a lot of unlearning to meet her in that place of trust and in that place of joy. I had to ask myself a lot of hard questions. Why did you react this way? Why is this so important to you? Why? It really became about me, not her. Again, she's this, I'm going to hold up a mirror, Mom. Are you going to look into it or not? Sometimes it took a bit, but I have so far always said yes, even if I can be a bit stubborn and stuck sometimes. And and this is probably the joyful part of this. Kate didn't start talking until she was 4 years old. And the reason she started to talk was because I had learned from a professional the right ways to support someone like Kate in learning to talk. I learned about recasting. I learned how to correctly model and to really be a speech partner with Kate. And I took that into our whole life. And it wasn't just me, because as I started to model and as I recast, then Sean's doing it. Then the grandparents are doing that. Then our friends are doing that. All because they're watching me model how to do it. And here Kate is. She's 9 years old, and she doesn't stop talking. She really doesn't stop talking. But I made it safe for her. I was able to help her move through this anxiety, which has in fact showed up in every other area of learning in her life, from board games to video games to learning to read and math. Yep, there's the anxiety. So this has been a gift for me to help her through that, right? I have the tools that I learned helping her to talk, and now I have those tools in whatever area of her life it comes up next in, because it will, because it's who she is. And what's even more beautiful is that Kate's nonstop talking is actually reflected in her birth chart in astrology. I kind of wish I had that information when she was 2 years old and 6 months, that I could have been like, no, pediatrician, you know, I'm actually not going to go into lots of fear like you're pushing on me about her talking. I think she's going to be okay. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe and follow along. And, you know, join me on the next video. I'm going to talk about my late talker number 2, where I thought Kate was hard. I had no idea what was in store for me with Eric. But all of our children are different, and mine were certainly different. Anyway, thank you so much. I look forward to hearing with you, and I look forward to supporting you on your journey. Do you want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Take crystal.
Oh, take the crystal?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'll chat with you soon.